Well, there are 5 fundamental principles for boosting your brain. Principle number 1, cut it out. Cut that 4-letter word out of your vocabulary. And that word is can't. Because every time we say the word can't, it chokes our brain. It's like putting a restraining order on our brain or putting a straitjacket around our brain. But if we cut that word out, immediately we expand the realm of what's possible for ourselves. Now, Sydney-based psychologist and author Dr. Timothy Sharp, he tells a story which illustrates this very clearly. His family came from rural Europe, and they had a farm with a lot of livestock. And one day the family was out to market when they had a delivery of chickens. Now, there was nobody home, so they just left the chickens in a box on the front door. Now, this box was very flimsy, and by the time the family came home, all the chickens had escaped. Well, they weren't very happy, but they spent the rest of the afternoon searching around town, chasing after these chickens. And grandfather was not happy. So he rings up the chicken supplier and he says, "Listen, mate," or whatever the European equivalent of "listen, mate" is. He says, "Listen, don't do anything so stupid again. Don't ever leave livestock on our front door. We spent the whole afternoon looking for these chickens and we've only managed to find 11 of them." And the chicken supplier says, "Well, that's not bad really, because we only delivered 6. The point being, if we drop our preconceived ideas about the limits of what's possible, we can achieve so much more. And I had a personal experience of this 3 years ago when I climbed Mount Kinabalu in Malaysian Borneo. Has anyone climbed Mount Kinabalu? Fantastic, exhilarating, got to do it. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's Mount Kinabalu is 4,000 metres high, or over 4,000 metres high. It takes at least 2 days to climb, and you have to go up with a guide because it's quite hairy, it's easy to get lost, and there are lots of different paths up there. I will spare you the altitude sickness, the screaming thighs and the frostbitten fingers. Suffice to say, I made it to the top. And when I was sitting up there with my guide, high above the clouds, you're just looking down on the world, feels fantastic. I saw in the distance a group of climbers who were trying to tackle this really, really stupidly steep slope. I mean, it just looked deadly. And I turned to my guide and I said, "Are they mad? What are they doing trying to climb that?" I said, "Thank God you didn't take me up that way. I never would have made it." And he looked at me and he said, "I did take you that way. You just didn't see how steep it was because you were on it." And I thought to myself, if you had flown me up here first and said, "You're climbing that," I would have said, "I can't do that." So never think you can't do something just because it looks hard. Take one small step at a time and you'll be amazed at how far you can get. So right now, turn to the person sitting next to you again. If they gave you a dud compliment, turn to the person on your other side and share with them something that you've been holding back on, that you want to do, that you've said, "No, I can't do that," that you just might give it a go. Again, you've got 10 seconds each. Tell each other something you want to do. You will do now. Wonderful. You'll have to hold each other to that now. Okay, so that was the first principle. Cut it out. Cut that 4-letter word out of your vocabulary. Principle number 2, be good to your heart. Because if something's good for your heart, it's good for your brain. Except when it comes to that glass of red wine. I'm sorry, I didn't make up the rules, it's a design fault. People who consume more than 14 alcoholic drinks a week, that's only an average of 2 a day, have considerably smaller brain volumes, and volumes related to vasectomised bits, than people who consume a lot less. So there's a lot you can work out about a man from a first date. And there's a direct linear relationship. The more you drink, the more you shrink. Now, sadly, the effect of alcohol on women is even bigger than on men. Not only is there more brain shrinkage for the same volume of alcohol consumed, but women who consume just over 1 alcoholic drink a day have a 24% higher risk of breast cancer. And the Cancer Institute of New South Wales last year attributed 12% of breast cancers to excessive alcohol consumption. That means in more than 1 in 10 women it was preventable. Now, I'm not saying you can't drink anything at all. I'm just saying if you're a man, keep it to under 14 drinks a week, and if you're a woman, keep it to under 10. Now, I know I should be talking about brains and not breasts, but I just have to mention this because it's so important. And when I say a drink, I mean 10 grams of alcohol, which is about 100 mils of wine. So for a woman, your quota is a litre of wine a week. And one last word about alcohol. We perform much better in anything that requires sharp mental acuity if we abstain from alcohol for 24 hours prior to the event. So that's the only bad news for today. All the rest is good news. So next time you've had a really hard day and just want to collapse on the couch with a glass of wine, crack open a handful of walnuts instead. Why walnuts? Because walnuts are a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential for optimal brain and heart function. They're a very quick, easy, tasty way to boost your brain and help ward off depression. And I don't have shares in a walnut farm, so I don't care. But if you don't eat walnuts, if you don't eat any nuts, don't panic, because there are plenty of other sources of omega-3s, namely linseeds, flaxseed oil, soybeans, dark leafy greens, and your deep sea fish. So my recommendation for lunch today would be sardine and spinach sandwiches on soy linseed bread. Your brain will love it. As for a really good brain boosting breakfast, just have some fruit. Studies have shown that a fruit salad or a variety of fruits for breakfast are associated with better mental functioning than just a piece of toast or a cup of coffee. Now, once again, I'm not saying you can't have your cappuccino and your cereal and your eggs or whatever as well, but just throw some fruit into your morning routine. And it doesn't matter what fruit, and you can't have too much fruit, but blueberries are right up there.